Alright, so I decided to make a video about this. So in this video, I'm going to put these two Sears tractors that you're looking at back together. So this one here, it's actually a 69 Custom 10XL. It just has a custom 7 hood. I do have decals to change that out. The seat's just sitting on there. So the transmission for this is sitting right here. It needs a brake band put on it and then basically put right back in the tractor. Debend that fender. Now this other one here is a 74 SS16 or ST16 rather. I don't have the rest of the hood for it other than the lower grill. So I'm going to take the lower grill off, probably paint this Suburban 10 grill white, and then put all the covers and stuff back in there, and it'll just have like a Suburban 10 hood, just to do something different on that. And then of course I got the tires for everything sitting here. So I'm going to get to forklifting these inside. Gonna be kind of tricky because there's a lower deck hanger in the back there, so without a rear end in the back, it's gonna be kind of hard to make it balance right. Well, let's see what happens. Alright, so I got them both inside. So a little bit story on these engines real quick before I get to actually putting the transmissions and stuff back in them. Is this one here was sitting without a hood on it with the spark plug missing. So just from seeing on the inside that it's very rusty in there, so that's kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is, I guess. This one turns most of the way around and then stops. Then if you spin it the other way, it turns most of the way around and it stops the other way. So that kind of sucks, but I guess it's whatever. So this one here, I'm gonna do the first one without doing a video on actually putting the transmission in. But the second one here, the custom, I'm gonna show you how to put that one in. They're the same. Normally when I do these, I restore them when I put the transmissions in. So normally what I do is I use my forklift and I hang the whole tractor from that. But this time I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way without the forklift. So anyway, I'm going to get the transmission on this one put in with the tires on, which all the stuff is over there now. You didn't see that part, but anyway, I'm going to get the transmission on this put in with the tires on and come back. Alright, so as you see, I got the transmission put in with the rear tires that go flat within about 30 seconds. But it's at least enough that I can actually push it around now. The hubs I use aren't original hubs that's supposed to be on here. They're like Craftsman hubs, but they're hubs, I guess. So I put a bunch of spacers here to space them out. And this transmission had some bolts welded on the end of the shaft. So I use that to keep that on there, and it does have a keyway and everything. It's just there's no set screw, nothing to hold it on there. So I just lucked out with that one, that transmission happened to have bolts on there. My next dilemma I gotta get figured out here is that this front spindle apparently was sitting in the dirt for quite a while. There's supposed to be a hole on the end which is plugged up with dirt, and there's no sign of there even ever being threads there, but I know they're there somewhere. So what I'm going to start out by doing is sanding this so that there's some hope of there being a tire to fit on here. I'm going to take a screwdriver and I'm going to get that mud out of there. So kind of hope for the best here. Grab this one. Another thing I did, which I'm gonna go back and repaint these shifters because they're an ugly paint color, is you could probably see already that right here is really nice and shiny yellow compared to the fenders and the rest. So basically I took one of these, which is basically just steel wool and some water, dipped it in some water, basically it wet sands it, and yeah, it's gonna clean up quite nice. Alright, so a couple minutes later I got the spindle wire wheeled and I sanded it, so it's pretty smooth. It ain't great, but it's not too bad. I got the hole on the end unplugged. I just stuck a screwdriver in there and got it unplugged for the most part. I used my drill with a drill bit to put the hole back in there. Then I went and I got all the parts that it's missing. So I have all of that to put back on there. So the thing I'm gonna do first is I realize now the bottom is bent up. So I'm gonna take pliers and debend that real quick and get this tire stuck on here. So, oh, it just broke. Oh well. It is what it is. It's been sitting in the dirt for who knows how long, and it got rusty is what happened. So, got my replacement Shenzhen tire. I wonder where that was made. To put on the front here, which fits perfect. The washer, this little pin, this thing that holds the pin in place. You know, they did not want these front tires to come off because you got one thing already to hold it on, and then here's two things, and then that dust cap kind of acts as like a third thing to hold it on. So they definitely didn't want these tires to fall off. I normally just use this to crank it on, which is kind of stupid, but so this front tire matches the back ones for the fact that it holds air for 30 seconds. So alright, so it's the next day now. So I got the front tire put on and that's done. The custom is sitting right out there outside. I haven't messed with that yet. So I got a chance to work on this engine some, and it is in fact junk. The valves on it are totally messed up and not even working. And I can tell there's rust in the cylinder, so it's no good. So I got the pulley taken off. It just came right off actually, so that's pretty cool. Put that on the new engine to replace this. Got the oil draining right now, so I can use this as a parts engine for my other ones. So got the old brackets there somebody welded on for the seat. I'm gonna get them cut off, seat spring put on. Otherwise, just basically like clean this up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this engine pulled out and this front grille pulled off, and I'll come back after that's off. Alright, so made a bunch of progress on stuff. As you see, I got the custom, for the most part, ready to put the transmission in. So the SG16 I got the engine pulled out of. So I got the rest of that cleaned up. So I cleaned it up, and then I also pressure washed it. Not too bad on how it looks. I do have to pull them off yet, and then paint the shifter, the high-low range shifter, and the actual shifter black, but that'll come when it actually gets put together. So I'm going to get these two fenders pulled off, because I always take the fenders off because it makes it a little bit easier to get the transmission in. So I'm going to get them two pulled off and this hitch plate bolted to this, and I'm going to get to show you on how to put a transmission in. Alright, so I decided before I put it in there I would figure something out for a brake band. So I cobbled this together. So this was an original brake band, but the brake part was missing off of it. So I took this piece of rubber and I just kind of jammed it in there, and then I put a bolt on there. It does still spin freely, and then if you pull on that it does stop. So we'll see once it's put together on how good it works. So I decided I'm not actually going to make a video on putting it in, but eventually here I am going to do a video on pulling one out, and then I'll restore it and stuff, and then I'll put it back in, and then I'll do all in one video on pulling it out and putting it back in. So I'm going to get this transmission put in, and I'm going to see about getting this fender debent, because it's yeah, that's not even close to being fender shaped. So I'm going to do them two things, and I'm going to come back and show you the progress. Alright, so I got the transmission put in. I took the seat spring off to make it a little bit easier to get everything put in. I spilled some oil on the floor because I did it the hard and stupid way, which is why I didn't show you how I did it. So normally I take the hitch plate off with the transmission, and I just have these two bolts right here on each side loose, and then I just line these three here up and then get them in along with these two bolts right here, or these two, it doesn't really matter. And that's a lot easier because you don't have to take this off, and you're not trying to line these bolts here up that thread directly in. So I did it the hard and dumb way this time. Got the cotter pin put in there, which is harder to do on customs because this hole here isn't quite as big. But hey, it's in there. Got the fenders debent. Pretty surprised. This was, I believe, this was the one that was folded over worse. You can never even tell now that that even happened. This one here kind of had the same type of thing going on. You can tell I stood on it. But of course it's totally gone. It took me like 5 minutes for both fenders, so that didn't take too much to fix. So next step here is I'm going to put both rear tires on there, which the valve stem is broken, which is this one. So I'm going to put a different valve stem on there and hope for the best that it doesn't need a tube. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to put the tires on, and I'm going to go over and pressure wash this, wait for it to dry, and I'm going to get the rest of it cleaned up. So I'm going to get that done and come back. Alright, so I got it pressure washed for the most part and on all four tires. What's kind of cool is my brake that I cobbled together does work. So a good example of that is set the parking brake. Can't push it. Take the parking brake off. I can push it. So it does have an axle leak, like pretty much they all do at this point in time, it seems like. So it is what it is. But I'm going to get this cleaned up. I think I already cleaned a little part of the frame. Right here you can see it looks a little bit shinier than the rest. But I'm going to start on this side and work my way around. So I'll get this number off of here. Alright, so I'll be scrubbing it down with this, and once I get done, I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Alright, so as you see, I got it all cleaned up, and I moved it outside to its very temporary parking location. So this is where it'll be until I either move it in there or move it in there, or inside the big shed, one of the three. And then basically I got it all cleaned up for the most part. Can't really decide if it's red or orange, because that's the original front grille, and it looks a little bit more orange than the frame, but the frame is kind of orangish there. And the fenders are definitely like kind of orange. And then if you look under here, that's red. So I'm guessing it's just on how it faded is what it is. So, because if you look under here, that's reddish orange. So I think it just faded in a weird way. And then the ST16, I stuck that Suburban 10 hood and nose on there. Don't know exactly yet if I like it, but I have another option. Is this here Suburban 12 hood and grill, which it isn't in very nice shape, but it's a hood and grill. I'd paint this grill here back to white, but it's broken here, and it is broken along the bottom and then re-welded, so it's not exactly perfect. It's a little crooked, but it is a grill. So one of them two options. If I went with this grill, I'd paint this white, but we'll see. And then engine options I have is a Honda GX or a GC 160. So it's the cylinder goes straight up and down like the old engine would have. For this would be an option. And then that one is a Honda GX 240, which is like 9 horsepower, I believe. Would be a good engine for that, I'm thinking. And I would use the original gas tank location right up here, so I don't have to cut the battery tray or nothing. I can use the original pulley off the Tecumseh for it, and obviously put some different tires on the back or put tubes in them or something. This one here, I didn't do anything with the tires yet either. So a couple of other things that's going to be coming up is one of the next videos is going to be that Suburban 12, getting that cleaned up and running, and this here 18.6 getting this cleaned up and running. And here are some floorboards that we made that, you know, they swoop up in the back, so I haven't put them on anything yet to even see if they fit, but I hope they do. And then here are 3 out of the 4 that we did of the like the GT18 and GT99 and like the white and black ropers. They have these foot pedal like PTO engagers, which of course this doesn't have one, but anyway, you put your foot on the top, it engages it. You know what I'm talking about if you have one of them. The original 10 horse Tecumseh off of the custom is over here on my miscellaneous pallet of stuff. It's that's the cylinder problem. So that's what happens if you let it sit outside for several years without a spark plug. So that's totally junk. The inside of the engine's full of water too. This one, that's also junk because it's full of water. That Tecumseh there is also full of water because basically what these tractors have been through, that if it wasn't for me buying them and saving them, they were pretty much bound to get ported out and eventually crushed. So repowering them really isn't that bad, but I don't know, people don't like it. It is what it is. I mean, it's either that or they'll never run again. So I mean, it is what it is. Anyway, that is it for this video, and more coming soon on either this one or that one or something else I decide messing with.